Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Am Christina DiArcangelo. And today, I'm so excited to have yet another female guest of mine, a friend and a colleague, Crystal Morrison, here with me. And before I introduce her, I just want to welcome everybody to our viewers and those that are listening to us, and for your continued support. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to have you here today, Crystal, because I want to talk with you about you as a human, as being a professional, a corporate CEO, taking names, closing business, doing amazing things, being a wife, and being a mom in this state of where we are today, in the crazy world that we all live in. And, shout out to my Pittsburgh friends, because that is where Crystal is from. And well, not from fully, but is where she is today. So welcome, Crystal.
Thank you. It's awesome being here with you.
I'm so excited to have you here today. So why don't you explain your background? And, we met because we were working together on a really exciting project this past summer. And then as a result of that project that we worked on together, which was pretty intense, we've realized that we liked each other as people.
That's right.
And we became friends. And for the viewers out there, they're probably going to think that we've been friends for a really long time, because that's just how we jive. Crystal and I just, there's a lot of things that we share in common. I'm not going to steal her thunder, because I want her to tell you guys about that. But we were working together on this project. We became first colleagues, then friends. And then just working alongside her, I decided to nominate her for the board of Affinity Patient Advocacy, because she advocates in her own right on multiple foundations. Again, I'm not going to steal her thunder. I'm going to turn it over to you now, Crystal.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really interesting what being together for several days and an intense experience can, bring to people together. So for sure. My background is like a lot of people. My background is pretty crazy. And, from a professional standpoint, I'm trained as a scientist. I have a Bachelors, Masters, and Ph.D. in chemistry. My background's primarily polymer chemistry. I worked at Los Alamos National Lab for years, where I did my postdoc fellowship. And then I moved to Pittsburgh to pursue professional growth in industry. And that included, senior leadership roles at very large global companies and leading global R&D. As with a lot of things, our career trajectory can go in lots of different directions. And I had experience in academia and a national lab, a huge global corporation. And I really felt called to spend my time on things that I could build and create my entrepreneurial journey. And so I started my own consulting firm, where I focus on leadership and strategy for technical companies. And I also do a good bit of consulting in the chemical and specialty materials industry around mergers and acquisitions and market assessment and technical assessment. So that's the professional side. The personal side is that I'm originally from Arkansas. I was a poor kid growing up, the first person in my entire family to graduate from college. And my personal journey through school led me to my first marriage and 3 kids, divorce, new marriage, and lots of things that come along the way. And, from a personal perspective, I will say that I spend a lot more time now investing my time in things that are personally very, very important to me. advocating for my children and families and other families like us, advocating for patients and affinity bio partners. This is all part of my personal and professional life and who I am as a human, all kind of coming together, and me committing and spending my time on things that I believe matter and are important to me.
I think that's so awesome. And, to the viewers out there, they now know just from you tipping it off there, why we have so many things like threads, in fabric.
Threads.
Yeah. Right.
We're like a sweater.
Yeah, exactly. Like today it's not so cold here on the East Coast where we are, but it's really cool to meet people like ourselves, from different, different backgrounds. I'm not a PhD. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a researcher, but we marry together, the science aspect, this is the stuff that we do in drug development. So that aspect, we both came, with that already as a notch, to check off there, but the whole family balance thing, we both were married and divorced, and I'm just not remarried right now. I don't have time, and I have one child and you have more than one child, but, we share also in racial differences with our children as well. Do you mind talking a little bit about that? I think that's important for the viewers to understand that you purposely chose this path as a mom.
That's correct. Totally correct. So I have 3 children, and my children all came to me in very different ways, right? So my oldest, who's 17, is a biological child, and I'm gonna let my puppy down there. My 15-year-old and my 12-year-old, I adopted from Ethiopia. Amazing kids, all 3 very amazing kids. And my daughter, who's now 12, I adopted her as an infant. And my son, who's now 15, I adopted as a 5.5-year-old. So, my journey as a mother has been very interesting and unconventional, but yet it's absolutely had a huge, huge hand in shaping me as a person. And my children are amazing. And I'm sure, you can appreciate this sometimes. People tell you, oh, your kids are so lucky to have you. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, man, I'm the lucky one here.
They chose us. Yeah, they chose us, and I know we believe in that same spiritual thing. So that's why I can say that so confidently about us, but without being offensive, because some people don't believe that, but luckily we do. You know what I mean? Like they chose, I have one, but the kids chose us as moms, they came in, and it's amazing that you recognize that too. And that you embrace that, like, listen, I am blessed to be their mom, their mama, like I'm that person to them. I'm the person that shows up with them. I'm the person there to support them, but they give us so much in return. So much.
And, I was, I'm sure you can appreciate this. A friend of mine, she had a baby right before COVID started. And so everybody's going back into work in person, of course, which is another transition that we have to face. And, this is her daughter's first time in childcare, being with anyone outside the home. And, the mom and dad are really struggling. This is her first time to drop her off at daycare. I've been there. And for me, I remember those moments and I understand, but as your kids get older, you have new moments, right? my 17-year-old is a senior in high school, and my 15-year-old is playing football for the first time in high school. And I dropped him off at football practice and I'm bawling because all I can see is my baby, who's huge now, walking off the football. And my daughter flew for the first time this summer and I was bawling in the airport. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally feel you. Cause when we met up again in August to continue our project, I had been in Boston with Christian and Steph, who you met, Steph, at the party, the CD party. And so how she's like a kid to me, like she's family stuff.
She's amazing.
I love her. I'm so blessed to have someone like that to help support Christian and me. She supports me too,
she does.
In many ways. And she's a brilliant kid. And her and Christian flew down from Boston to Philly. I flew to meet you guys.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first time that Christian ever flew with someone besides me.
Yeah.
And I remember like the night before, just like I had anxiety, like sleeping. And I'm like, oh my God, is everything going to be okay? Is he going to be okay? He's a good traveler. He's been traveling on planes since he was 2. So like your daughter, I mean, for goodness sake, she moved from her home country internationally. She flew as a baby. So she's clearly got some wings under her,
That's right.
But it's still scary.
Terrifying. Yeah. I remember talking about that. Yeah, definitely. Could you try again?
Yeah, it's just like, and it's isn't it cool though, because you see what we do from a business perspective, right? We're, we're pretty amazing with what we do every day and how much we help people and patients and, all professionals from a leadership standpoint, like what you do, what I do, we all,
how much we juggle, right?
It's like this all the time, right? It's just craziness, but we get it done every day.
We do. We get it done every day. And, sometimes things aren't perfect, but, I always know that I'm going to get up the next day, right? Things are going to move forward, right?
And every day that you start, your morning, it's a new way for you to start your day. So that's what I always think of when I, if Christian has a bad day at school or something, right? Something happens and he's a little sad and I put him to bed. I always remind him that tomorrow's a clean slate. It's a way to start over again and make it something that's incredible. I mean, that's all we can do, right? We can't get weighed down in the negativity because it's really upsetting. We were on a call last night where someone disclosed to us on our Zoom that one of their best friends had committed suicide because of the COVID pandemic, because she was a silent mental health sufferer. Well, that's pretty tough, right? To hear these kinds of things. And it really, that's someone's best friend. And we know this person. We don't know the best friend that passed away, but we know the person who's had this loss, which then we thereby, by association, we suffer the loss. We all had a moment of silence for this poor young lady who took her life. It's really tough out there for a lot of people. And so if there's a way for us to start our day, the next day in a positive manner, no matter how bad it is, like you said, you get up and you start again. It's really important, I think, for people's survival right now.
I agree. And I think fortunately as a culture, we're getting a little bit better about talking more openly about mental health and being, respectful of mental health. I mean, now more than ever, you're starting to really see people talk about it. But, one of the things as a woman and as a professional, as a leader, as a mentor, one of the things that I kind of got smacked in the face with a couple of years ago was, I was talking to different people and, one young woman, she said, like, you're like Superwoman, like you're such a badass. And I definitely am. Like, I'm a badass, right? But at the same time, I also don't want to give, especially my fellow women, I don't want to give this notion that I've got it all together. Life is just peachy keen and I'm slaying things left and right, right? Like I am. I'm damn smart. I juggle a lot, but life is not perfect. And I think that it's really good for us to get real about, the fact that my kids had goldfish crackers for dinner last night because I was on a call, and I haven't taken a shower yet because I was trying to squeeze in exercise, but just being real and honest about our struggles. I mean, I have mental health struggles myself. So it's important to acknowledge that. Yeah.
Me too. And I think I love that you brought that up because it's vulnerability, right?
Absolutely.
And so there's just this struggle we have as women, I feel, that we think that I know that I used to think this. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. Crystal, I'm not going to lie, right?
Yeah.
What's the point?
No sugarcoating.
No sugarcoating this stuff. But I always thought that if I showed vulnerability as a woman in a leadership role, that I wouldn't be taken seriously and it would be a sign of weakness, and that I can't do the same job as a man and do it better because I typically do. And that's one of the things I do with CD now with Christina DiArcangelo. One of the major components of why I built the brand back last year was so that I could give permission not only to myself, but to others to be vulnerable, to share those fall downs and those tragedies and like the times when we're in the bottom of our shower thinking like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Not that we're going to kill ourselves, guys out there, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like, this is the way this is going to be? Is this the way this is?
How much more can I take? How much more can I shoulder? Right. I get it.
Because that's where it always is for us, And I think it's awesome that, we're not to get political, but we're lucky to have a lady VP in there because it helps us as women continue to progress, that there is no ceiling for us. And we all make mistakes. We make mistakes and we have feelings, right?
Yeah, imagine that.
Right. I mean, it's not just perfect. Like you said, it's not like rainbows and stars and slaying stuff. It's the reality that sometimes stuff just doesn't work out the way we thought it would. And it's imperfect, but there's beauty behind the imperfection, because with every downfall, you learn something, you build upon it, and you take it to the next level, right?
That's right. It's totally right. And, oftentimes we don't talk about all of those battle scars that taught us lessons. People only see where we're at right now, where we've landed, and what our title or income or whatever that is, right? People see that. And, my back's covered in scars.
That's right.
I mean, really, really painful personal and professional experiences along the way that have taught me an awful lot about myself, but also, and I know you appreciate this, it's also taught me so much about the people I want to surround myself with, the leader that I want to be, the mentor that I want to be, and who is really good quality people to have in my life as my cheerleaders, right? That's been a huge part of the lesson too, not only just the professional skills, but like who you surround yourself with, who your tribe is, right?
Oh, it's so weird. I swear to God, it was in my mind before you said it, tribe. Yep. I swear to God, I don't know if you saw me go, whoa. It's
it's that sweater thing again, those threads.
I swear to God, like I got chills when you first started talking because I had an idea where you were heading. With my weirdo empathic skills. But But yeah, I love that. It's exactly where I am too. Like exactly like and who I surround my son around, who you surround your children with, like
absolutely
the crew that we have from our project. They're amazing people, and they're all people that we would let our kids be around. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of my little pressure dummy test. Like, hey, is this somebody I would let Christian kick it with? Because if not, they need to beat on.
Yeah. And to your point, my kids are a little bit older than Krish now. But I had, and I posted about this recently, I had just an unbelievably horrible week of just multiple things unraveling. And I've also become a lot better about being vulnerable with my children. And what I mean by that is, they'll ask me like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And instead of saying, oh, like mom's fine, I'll say, you know what? I recognize today that some people I've trusted for a long time are really not trustworthy. And it's impacting me in this way. Or something I've been working on for a really long time just seemed to unravel. And it is really, really hard seeing that happen. And I think it's so important because that's what I want them to be able to do is not just say, I'm fine, but be able to put words with their emotions and talk about it. And also to understand that the things that they're going through now as teenagers and that they're going to go through, like we're all still going through those things. It's different. It's a different level, but we're all still going through those things. And it's how we handle it and try to trudge through it. But I'm trying to model that for them too.
That's so awesome. And I applaud you because again, that's something where we're the same on, because I used to hide stuff from Krish, and because I thought that that's what I was supposed to do as a parent. And then I started going through therapy when I got separated from my ex-husband. And those were some of the things I discussed with my therapist was, well, is it okay to show Christian that I'm sad that this has happened and that this isn't what I expected for my life, and not get talking about it in the grave details, but just like, hey, listen, I'm sad today, Krish, when he asked me, mommy, okay. So we had here's a recent example. I took him for his well checkup. This was 2 weeks ago. It was probably the same time you were having a bad week, if I recall correctly. And so I take him for the well checkup. And my dad used to go with me, believe it or not, for Christian's well checkups, because Krish was like the apple of his eye. I wasn't going to have kids. I finally decided, okay, I'm gonna try this out and try to have a kid with this guy that's my husband, and we'll see. And I was blessed to be able to have him, because I first miscarriaged and then thought, am I not able to have kids because I have a stressful job? Like this job's going to kill me. This is before I am who I am today. It was just my CRO, and it's still
right.
So anyway, I'm driving Christian home from his well checkup, and he did really well. He's like 4'6.5". He's 79 pounds. He's, at the top of his, so that's great because he used to barely gain weight. Now he's good. He's always been a weed, like as far as growing, not the illegal, I don't mean cannabis. I mean, so I was just so proud of him, and how he interacted with the doctor and he wears one of our transdermal patches from Avum. And the doctor asked him if he hurt himself. And Christian was like, no, because it looks like a Band-Aid. It's a transdermal flesh-colored patch. And he says, no, that's my medicine that my mom formulated with her team. And so she kind of looks at me like funny. And I was like, there is no THC in that. I immediately like, you're not calling CYS on me. We've got this covered. Okay. And this is Penn, who's part of the Chapter 20 program for cannabis, for Christ's sake. So anyway, I'm driving my car and I'm reflecting on this, and it's early in the morning, Crystal. Like the appointment was 9 a.m. No coffee. And it just overcame me, the grief of my dad not being there and not going with us and seeing his boy. You know, I know he sees him, but, you know, and I started to cry quietly. And then a song came on because my dad communicates to me through music and Krish. So then one of his songs comes on, and then I'm still crying. And Christian goes, he just reaches over from the back and gives me a little pat. And he's, Mom, are you okay? No, not okay. I'm a little sad because Papa, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, Mom, I know we all miss him. And I said, yes, we do. And this grief just pops up sometimes, and I just have to work through it just like you do. And it's normal and it's okay. And I'll be okay. We're not going to have a sad day all day. But for now, I just have to work through this process. And by the time we got closer to the house, I was good. I was back on track again. And I started to clean and get like fall stuff out, because that's what I do for my anxiety, like a weirdo. And I was all right. But I let him see me for who I really am. And I was sad. So I love that you do that, because it's so important for our kids not to feel like they can't speak up. Right. Because that's not how we were raised. We were raised to be respectful. Right. Don't say things.
Don't rock the boat.
Exactly. Right. I started.
I started rocking the boat way early, but like just be proper, be, you know, quiet, be a good little girl, you know, know your place sort of thing.
That's right. And I think one of the things that we're going to do that's going to impact the leaders of the future is what we're doing now, which is setting the stage. Like, listen, guys, it's not going to be, like we said, rainbows and sugar plums and, you know, stars in the sky all the time. You're going to go through hardship. You're going to go through challenges, but you're going to go through victories as well.
Right.
And celebrate the victories when they come. Remember them in the bad times, so it gets you through to the next notch, right?
Yeah. And to also talk about some of that, you know, ugliness, that vulnerability, you know, where you have tripped up and what's not going well. I mean, I think we do ourselves a disservice, not only to ourselves, but to, you know, women who consider us role models and men that consider us role models. We do ourselves a disservice by not talking about it more. And I know at times, because you know, we all have to work at being vulnerable.
Yes.
Just like we were talking about, you know, there is a way we were raised. We, you know, work so hard as professionals to not show emotion, which is something that's really hard for me. And we were brought up like that. And then to all of a sudden be a little bit more open and talk about it is really hard. But I do think that in times when I've opened up and allowed myself to be more vulnerable, I've got a lot of respect from people who have thanked me, not because of, you know, what my title is, but have thanked me for being willing to share some tough stuff. And I think it's good to get better at that. And it is really hard. It's easier said than done.
Yes, it is. Yep. There's times I'm like, oh boy, you know, but when we get through it, just think of all the people we empower, you know, and even ourselves, right? Because we sit back and go, whew. That was a big one, you know, and it helps so many people, right? It helps so many people get through what it is that they're getting through. And if we can be an instrument of change for the better, as women, as moms, as professionals, as advocates, as tech people, scientists, researchers, you know, I'm thinking about all the different titles we have.
All of the titles, all the labels. Yeah.
But number one is being a human, being a good human, you know?
Absolutely. And, you know, people have asked me, and I know they've asked you too, like, what do you want to be remembered for? And, consistently, I just want to be people to remember me as like a really good person, like somebody who cared, like a good person. And that means a lot to me, not people just thinking that, but living it, like being a good person. And we're surrounded by things that really make us not want to be a good person.
Exactly. You can choose to go down that other path there, or you could choose to be free and do the right thing. Yeah. So, my friend, you and I can talk forever.
Forever.
I think that's a great way to end our show for today is, what do you want to be remembered for? And that is to be a good human through and through, from struggles to success, just being a good human.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Crystal, for joining me today and sharing some of your personal things and being vulnerable with me and all of our viewers. And I'm so excited to have you as part of our show, and so appreciative. And so, like I say on every episode, besides thank you, is remember, we are the same. I am Christina DiArcangelo. Thank you.